And we've been talking you through some of those constitutional amendment proposals you'll vote on if you haven't already. Proposition 7 is interesting. It changes the way something called the Available School Fund is funded. And if you're wondering what that even is and why it matters, our Eric Hendrickson breaks it all down.
Texas has a lot of land, and with it, a lot of oil, minerals, and space for ranching. When, say, an oil company wants to use that land, they lease the land from the state. The money they pay goes into something called the Permanent School Fund. Established in 1854, this fund is worth over $40 billion today. It's the largest education endowment in the country, and it's what you're voting on with Proposition 7. Here's how the fund works now. The Permanent School Fund is controlled by the Texas General Land Office. They transfer money from the Permanent School Fund, up to $300 million, to the State Board of Education, who then uses this money to buy textbooks for students. Whatever money is left over is then sent to the Available School Fund. From here, money is distributed to Texas school districts. Voting yes on Prop 7 will change this whole flowchart. Now, instead of money going from one board to the next, the Texas Land Office or the State Board of Education will be able to distribute money from the Permanent School Fund. They'll each be able to take up to $600 million and place it in the Available School Fund, meaning as much as $1.2 billion will be available each year. The proposition also leaves room for subdivisions of both the Texas Land Office and the Board of Education, such as the School Land Board, to distribute the funds. Voting yes can mean more money for your child's school, but also more people making that decision. You'll have to decide which is better for yourself when you head to the polls.
All right, that's Eric Hendrickson for us, and we hope you get out, of course, and vote on Tuesday. And we sure appreciate Lubbock County Elections Administrator Dorothy Kennedy for stopping in on a day, on a week, and a time that's... Appreciate you.
No problem. We're glad to do it.
From an administrative perspective, I guess early voting went well and everything was good?
Everything's been very smooth during early voting.
That's always good to know. You know, any problems with folks on the switchover learning how to deal with touchscreen voting machines? I mean, it seems easier to me, but maybe not always to everybody.
No, we haven't really had a lot of people that said that haven't liked it, and we've also made sure that when we moved from the touchscreen that we brought what we call ATIs so that they can still have that wheel if they want to, and it's easily attached. So if the people that want that wheel, they can still use the wheel.
Interesting. So, you know, everyone's always worried about security these days.
Absolutely.
And you know, state level and federal level, everyone's been working on that and letting you guys know about some ideas and things to watch for. But, I mean, you know, there's been a lot of work, though, to keep hackers away at y'all's level, right?
Yes, and we work very hard and closely with our ITS department, Information Technology Services, and we also work with the Sheriff's Office, and the deputies are the ones that actually are taking the control units out. Those are our brain units. Then they take them out to the locations all during early voting and bring them back every night, and they're locked away. Wow.
And these aren't internet connected directly, right?
Right. None of the equipment, even the equipment that's in the office in order to build the ballot and to even tabulate results, and the equipment that's out in the field, none of that is ever touched and put together with the internet in any shape, form, or fashion. That's a federal and a state law.
Interesting. Okay, so there's no way the hackers can get to those, and so your vote is your vote on that particular system, and that's it, right?
Correct.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. You know, we lost the use of the mobile voting locations this time around.
Yes, sir.
Who was affected by that, and were there any ways to help folks work around that?
Well, in Lubbock County, what we have seen are we had 10 locations that were really affected. Our 3 hospitals, UMC, Covenant Lakeside, because we would be there one full 12-hour day for all of the staff, the doctors and nurses and all the medical and administrative folks that were there working those 12-hour shifts. And then we had 7 of our retirement and nursing homes that have been affected that we would go to, and we would be there like 4 hours or 6 hours and help the folks that wanted to vote there. We would be set up there for them to vote. So those are the things that Lubbock County lost when mobile voting was put out of commission through the legislative session.
Did any of those folks try to work with you to find some other way to get people to places?
It actually was an unintended consequence of the bill that went through. And so we have worked, the 2-party chairs, the county judge, and I met with some folks from the hospitals and the assisted living homes and nursing homes. to see what we can do as we're moving, to finish out the constitutional amendment and the year, and then especially as we move forward into 2020, because we have a lot of folks that are qualified can vote by mail ballot, but then we have some people that even though they qualify for a mail ballot, they want to vote in person. So we've got to see and work on how we're going to move forward in 2020 to help those folks out.
And speaking of help, I know you could use a little help in 2020 here. We talked on the news about a shortage of polling location workers. And that 2020 election cycle is going to be huge. I'm thinking long lines already. You're going to need some folks to help.
Well, 2020 is going to be a big year, and we're going to need a lot of help. We're asking for about 400 people to be able to help us work through that 2020 election cycle, the whole year. Because as we get into October of 2020 and November 2020, voters are going to find out for the first time there's no more straight party on the ballot.
Yeah.
So they will be voting, and with our equipment in Lubbock County, every race is one page. So they're going to be clicking next, voting and hitting the next button quite a bit. So lines could be longer. We will put out as much of equipment as we absolutely can, but when you put out that kind of equipment, you have to have workers to back that equipment up, to be there to help.
Contact you guys if you want to come and do that.
Yes, absolutely. Come down to our office at 1308 Crickets Avenue or call us at 775-1338. We'll get you in contact with one of the 4 agencies, temp agencies that we contract with. Get you in a training class. You get paid $9 an hour for training, and then to be working at the polls, you get $11 an hour. Now, the hours they're long. They're 14-hour days during early voting, and that's 12 days straight. And but they can do it. We've got a lot that do it. We have some in their 80s that are still working those 14-hour days.
Nice.
And then election day, of course, voting's 12, but you have an hour of work on the front side and at least an hour of work on the back side.
Now, what's next for you guys here in our final seconds? I know candidate filing is coming up.
Candidate filing is coming up November 9th through December 9th, and they will need to file their treasury report with our office at 1308 Crickets, but they'll actually file for the race that they want to be in with their party chairs.
The election may end, but it never ends for Dorothy Kennedy over at the elections office.
Never.
Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And let's do this week's poll question. Do you think the lack of civility in politics today is a serious problem? Talk to us on the KMAT News Facebook page and on everythinglubbock.com. Click on Talking Points and give us your opinion on that. Coming up, Lubbock City Council getting some direct advice on what they should focus on moving forward from folks like you. And regardless of how you view it politically, the vote this week to formalize the impeachment inquiry until the president was one for the history books.